Hey guys, and welcome to episode 3 on how to make your first custom or tribute figure. As I said, this time we're painting the head for our Ogren, and this is how it is. This is from my action figure customs. Now step 1 to anything is always to prime it, especially with these custom pieces. I will be using my trusty black Chaos primer for this. We'll get it sprayed, we'll see the details pop, we'll know exactly what we need to paint and where, and then we're going to crack on with it. So let's get through step 1. Which is this beautiful thing, Citadel Chaos Black. You've seen this in loads of my painting videos. It's the best primer in my opinion. It's the smoothest, easiest to paint over, and all sorts. I always go with this for nearly 90% of my projects. Make sure you give it a good shake, spray from a good distance, cover the thing properly. I would do it on camera, but I haven't got the space, and it'll be done. So let's go. Okay, so this is our primed head, as you can see. Done it once in a coat of a Chaos Black. So we're going to start with our bases, and we're going to do the skin first. So we're going to put some Kislev flesh on. And then I'll probably give it a quick shade of Kislev flesh mixed with some Agrax Earthshade, which I'll show you on the wet palette. So we're going to get that going. We're going to pop it on the face and we'll go from there. So give me 1 second. Okay, so give the paint a real good shake. Mix all the pigments together. Have a quick little look inside. Yeah, looks good. Right. If you saw episode 2, you know we are going to be using our monster brush a lot, which is just here. This fine tip perfect one. So get some out onto the wet palette. There you go, make sure we got enough, like such. Close that. We're going to add a little bit of water just to thin it a tiny bit. Okay, and using our fine tip, I'm just going to start painting. So be very careful to avoid the beard and the eyebrows, the eyes and the mask. I'm just going to start painting. Okay, I've done my first layer of Kislev flesh, and as you can see, we've got paint on the mask or not. We're not going to worry about too much about that. We can fix that when we come to painting those bits. What we are going to do is we're going to put the wash on, which I said about, just to give it some definition. So for that, I'm going to use the Kislev flesh I have there. I'm just going to mix in a tiny bit of Agrax Earthshade. This is a Citadel wash, really nice. It's a brownish colour. Give it a little shake, get it all mixed together. And honestly, we do not want a lot. Do not want a lot at all. We're going to take a little fine tip. You know what? Honestly, that much is probably going to be all right. Gonna get our wet palette. Just gonna mix a little bit in just here. Just like that, just to give it some definition. We might add a little bit more Agrax. Okay, we have this lovely colour up here. And it's got a very thin consistency. That is exactly what we wanted. So we're gonna take that, I'm just gonna wash the whole face quick. So we're just gonna put it all over. And you'll see how it just adds a little colour of darkness to it. Exactly what we wanted. So that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so that is how the head now looks. I'm liking the definition. What we're going to do is when we move on the head, we're going to go the hair. So to do this, real simple. Citadel contrast, we've got Flesh Terror's red. I'm going to put this all over the beard, all in the eyebrows. And we're going to see what happens. The only thing to note is, in the hair we do have these little braids, or I guess they're ropes. We're going to paint them last because I'm not too concerned about them. But for now, get this all over the beard and I'll show you what it looks like. So the contrast is a very watery paint. It acts as a shade and a normal paint. So for this, we're not even going to bother with the wet palette. We're going to get straight in the brush, get in there, get on the beard, and I'll show you. And we're just going to paint it all over. Now you should put these over a white. I'm going to test what it looks like over red like this, because I'm hoping it will just shade in the insoles, and then we can just dry brush red over the top, and it should look okay. But we're going to find out. Okay, so this is our head. We've put the layer of Flesh Terrors on, and you can still see in place it's still a bit wet, so we need to let it dry a little bit. In the meantime, I'm going to teach you how I do lips. Very easy. I'm going to take a little bit of the red from here, because I can see it's still wet here. I don't want it to pull. There we go. I use a little bit of red and the flesh tone. For example, I'll take a little bit of this. Dip my brush in it, just on a little tip like that. Literally just on the tip. Get my palette, and we're mixing some of the red into the skin tone. And we get this lighter pinker colour, just like that. And obviously you can, there you go. And that is my lip colour. So we're just going to pop that straight in between. Here, we can see the little rivet is just in between the beard. We're just going to pop it in there. I'm not going to do it with the camera because it's going to be a bit more difficult. But we're literally just going to this little slot here. Just like that. And that's my lip colour. I use whatever skin tone I've used for the head. Mix in a dash of red and you get that. Now while that dries, and the rest of it does, just back up a little bit so you can see it. See, it's got that nice little pink hue to it. We'll go in with the beard. So we're going to dry brush red over the top. To do that, I'm going to grab the red. I'm going to use corn red from, or cone red, how you say it, from Citadel. We're going to dry brush it all over. Then we'll paint the bands in the beard. I think we're going to do them a nice brown colour. Yeah, we'll do them a nice brown. Maybe we'll do blue actually, for grey warden blue. See how we feel. Anyway, then grab the red. So this is the red I'll be using. It's a base colour, it's cone red. And what we're going to do is, if you don't know what dry brushing is, it's the concept of putting paint onto your brush, as such. Getting all the paint in there. And then brushing it off, so there's very minimal paint left on the brush, like such. You want a very thin layer of paint left on there, and then you just dry brush, follow the ridges, all down until it picks up the colour. So as you'll see, as I'm doing this, it'll start picking up the brighter red, and we'll start getting some highlights doing, which you can see is just starting to pop a little bit. Okay, so this is what it looks like now that we've put the first layer of dry brushing on. The next part we're going to do is we're going to use this staff. It is a Citadel Dry, it's Asarath Red. It's a much thicker paint. Much thicker, see? We're going to get some on the brush, like such. We're going to make sure we rub it off into the tissue, get as much off as possible, but also rub it into the bristles as much as possible, like such. And then we're going to start flicking it with this brush all across the ridges, like such, so they pick up that nice brighter red detailing. As you can see, just like here, getting that nice red highlight. So we're going to do this off camera and I'll get back to you when we're done. Okay, so this is what it looks like now that we've done our base of red, we've done a medium dry brush of red, and then we've done a lighter dry brush of red, and you can see it's picked up all this lovely detailing. Really pops in the light. The only things we've got left, we've got to do these little bands here, we're going to do them gold, we've got to do the helmet, and we've got to do the eyes. Now there's no easy way to do eyes, so I'm leaving them till last. So what we're going to do is we're going to map out the helmet. And what I'm thinking is we're going to do the middle part down here, all these ridges here, we're going to do them in gold. These lines here going all the way along into here, we're going to do silver. Same with these lines down here. That'll make these plates here gold, probably these plates here in gold, and then we'll figure out the rest from there, whatever looks nice based on what we have. So we're going to start with that. We're going to paint these little bands here in gold. We're going to mask up the gold on here. So let's get to it. Okay, and this is our helmet, nice and painted. It's going to need a bit more detailing work, and in terms of, I say detailing work, the paint's going to need cleaning up a little bit, which I'll do off camera, just because I could be here for hours just doing like fine lines and whatnot. What we're going to do next is the eyes. Now, like I said, there's no easy way to do eyes, but we're going to start with a bit of white in the pupils. So for that, you can literally use any white. I'm using Vallejo Blanco, because why not? I'm going to put a little bit on our wet palette, like such. Going to use our monster brush because it's got the fine tip. It's a little bit wet, which is exactly what we want. We're going to dab it in, and we're going to paint inside the eye. And honestly, there's nothing else to this other than just being very, very careful. So I'm going to do this off camera just to make my life a little bit easier, and then we'll come back. Okay, so we've done the white for the eyes. Now, it doesn't really matter if you bleed over onto the skin a little bit, because you can always touch that up afterwards. That's fine. What we're going to do is we need to pick which colour we want the pupils to be. So I'm going to go with McCrag Blue again, which is what we used for the Grey Warden fabric on the base body, if you saw part 2, which is this lovely one. So, give it a little bit of shake, still be fine, because I filmed these back to back. Taking me hours. Going to get a little dot. We don't want too much. Little dot. Just like that. And we're going to get as much off as possible, but also get it into the bristles, a bit like dry brushing almost. So there's no like big blob. So I don't know if you can see that, it's nice and smooth on there. And we're literally just going to draw like a circle. Basic circle. Okay, so that is the blue of the eyes. As you can see, it's not perfect. It's hard to do eyes. I'm not going to lie, it's almost impossible for me. So that's what we're going to do. We can touch up later when we've got a camera and whatnot not in the way. But just do the white of the iris, or sorry, the white of the eye, then put the iris in, and then to finish it off, you just want a little black dot. So I'm using Kylos black, just because it's like the blackest black I could find. You can use any black, doesn't matter, black's black. Right. Once again, tiny, teeny, tiny bit on the paintbrush like such, and you're just going to do a little dot in the middle of the blue. So, just like that. Very, very faint, but that's what you want, just because if you look inside the eye, obviously the middle centre is black. So there you go, we've got a little black bit there. Head is basically done. Obviously we need to touch up a few things off camera, but that is literally how I would paint this Ogren head. So, it's now time for us to put the figure together. Let me just rinse off my brush. And that is our finished product. Now, I'll put a side-by-side photo of this and the promo image we did to begin with. But I am very happy with how this has come out. This is almost perfect, in my opinion. I'm going to touch up him a little bit more, and then we're basically done with this. And that is how easy it is to make your first ever custom or tribute figure. Took 3 easy steps, just planning, doing the body, doing the head, and that is done. If you've enjoyed this series and want to see more like this, please let me know. Like the video if it's helped you at all, otherwise it helps me out, whatever you want to do. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I've got loads more paint tutorials and whatnot coming up, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.